Well, Tom Harwood's in the studio with us, as well as the leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice. Morning to you both.
Morning.
The floor is yours, Tom. I don't really understand it. Look, it's on 4 front pages.
When I called him a geek, I didn't realise he'd be sitting next to me very soon. Sorry, geek in the nicest possible way.
I think he takes geek as a compliment, but it's the splash and it's the main story on 4 front pages today. The end of civilization as we know it.
Well, here's the thing. This story that, frankly, geeks have been talking about for the last couple of years has gone mainstream and potentially went mainstream yesterday afternoon when this statement signed by around 350 tech leaders was published by the Centre for AI Safety. And it's comparing AI development with nuclear war. And I think that that's a potentially quite a useful comparison to make. It's an equivalent technology to splitting the atom. Splitting the atom did amazing things for the world. We've got the advances of nuclear energy and scientific development. But also it opened up some big dangers for the world, nuclear war. In the same way, artificial intelligence, in the way that it is advancing now, far faster than anyone in the industry thought it would. I think it's worth taking a step back and to say 3 or 4 years ago, the people at the forefront of this technology did not believe that it would pass what's known as the Turing test, whereby it's indistinguishable if you're having a conversation with a computer. You wouldn't be able to tell if it's human or a robot. Well, we're past that stage now. Indeed, we're past the stage where GPT-4, as it's known, can pass the bar exam, can understand and explain why political cartoons are funny, having never seen them before. I mean, we are on a path to AI intelligence that is looking more and more like an exponential. And that is incredible. We're seeing, for example, paraplegics who can now walk thanks to AI technology helping them do so. AI developing new antibiotics. We might be able to overcome antibiotic resistance. But on the other hand...
That's going to say, on the other hand, what if North Korea or Iran that are trying to develop their nuclear weapon use AI to develop their nuclear weapon?
Well, precisely, or maybe even more dangerous than nuclear weapons. The same tech that, for example, might cure a disease, might cure cancer, could, with one sentence, one prompt, a terrorist could write in, make me a disease that is more transmissible than COVID, but more deadly than Ebola.
Right, this is my question, Tom, being... I'm scared of a mobile phone, let alone AI, by the way.
Well, particularly yours just went off.
Yeah, no, thank you. But AI, right, artificial intelligence, it has to be programmed by a human being, surely.
No. This is the dangerous thing about it.
You're not helping this morning, Tom.
This is why it's known as black box AI. That means that it's not humans writing these algorithms. It's now algorithms writing these algorithms.
Robots are writing robots.
No one knows how GPT-4 works. The OpenAI heads, the people at the top of Google DeepMind, the people at the top of Anthropic AI, these 3 big AI companies, they do not know how their products work. What they did was build bots that have then built this AI, and to the human eye, it's a scramble of letters, it's a scramble of code. We do not know why it works. This is one of the dangers. This is why this letter, or indeed this sentence, has been ascribed to by 350 leaders in this field, and why the G7, just a couple of weeks ago, put this high on the agenda, because ultimately one country regulating this is useless. If the UK tries to shut this down and China goes hell for leather, we are doomed.
Essentially, Dawn, it's like a computer developing its own mind, and no one knows what that computer is thinking, doing, or saying to itself. And it's look, like all things, Tom used the right analogy of nuclear. Nuclear energy in the right hands with the right regulation is fantastic. In the wrong hands, it's utterly lethal. And I think this is the same analogy. And it requires urgent global regulation with very serious criminal sanctions for those who breach that regulation.
But this is the thing, Richard, there isn't regulation, is there?
Not yet.
We don't have regulation in this country. This is what Richard Sunak is talking about trying to introduce.
And shouldn't we have... Are we a bit slow to the...
The world is slow to it because it's developing so quickly. Because it's a computer. It will always think and develop faster than our human minds. So that's why we've got to move urgently. We've got to fully, globally, I think quite draconianly regulate it. Remember, when the internet started, none of us had heard of it, none of us understood it. But the truth is, if the internet started today, we wouldn't allow it to develop as it developed.
But how do you... Would you ensure a system of regulation in rogue states like North Korea? How will you ever enforce it?
With difficulty, in the same way, for example, it was hard to control Iran with nuclear technology, and that was part of the biggest concerns, with great difficulty. But there has to be serious global criminal sanctions very, very quickly in order to stop this, because in the wrong hands, as Tom quite rightly says, this is utterly lethal.
I think we're going to see things move very, very quickly in the coming months. When, in the dawn of the nuclear age, what we saw was known as the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, created as a body of the UN. We might see something similar come about in the coming months with regard to AI. And I say the coming months because every 3 or 4 months, a new system of AI is coming out that is perhaps twice as powerful as the old system. And we know how fast doubling really increases things. If AI is perhaps comparable to human beings, to clever human beings passing the bar exam as things stand, maybe we could sort of roughly say, and of course it's not a perfect analogy, but maybe some AI that exists today has the IQ of maybe 130. Well, what if next year it has double that, and then double that, and then double that, and we can't even conceive how clever this stuff is?
The other scary thing, and there are lots of scary things I'm finding here, is that the World Economic Forum worried that it could live 83 million jobs. 83 million human jobs.
Well, we've already seen it at British
AI.
Telecom, haven't we?
British Telecom,
55,000 jobs going.
That's the least of our worries. We heard that in the 1980s with computers replacing typewriters. Forget that. That's a nonsense. Don't worry about that at all. We should be focused on the risk of it developing and becoming a lethal force. The jobs thing is a complete misnomer. We shouldn't worry about that. Technology will always advance, different jobs, different things. Guess what? Because all of a sudden more people are going to be involved in programming and working with AI.
Do we need a government minister in charge of this?
If you can find one that understands it.
Yeah, well, that's
good luck with that.
I don't think there's any scientists in the cabinet.
Well, we do, as of the last reshuffle, now have a science department for the first time since, I think, the 60s.
Really?
Is
it Chloe Smith, I think?
Chloe Smith is standing in at the moment, covering a maternity leave. But yes, there is now that science department that has taken bits from the old business department, bits from the old DCMS, because it's sort of digital and science all together. So that new department will definitely be looking at this. But again, this isn't something the UK can do by itself. We've been hearing UK politicians saying we need a cross-party consensus. No, we need a cross-country consensus.
Unfortunately, I'm not a robot, but we have run out of time. Not a robot yet. You're not helping either.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They'll be replacing us too.
Yeah, I know, exactly.